in the mist-covered lands of the north, where icy winds cut through the skin like blades, where the sea roars louder than thunder, and the gods themselves walk among men. There lived a people born not for peace, but for destiny. They were called the Vikings, warriors of the storm, seekers of glory, builders of empires. They lived by one code: to die with honor and to live remembered. Their world was ruled by superstition and courage, by gods who demanded blood, and by kings who sought power beyond reason. But from these frozen lands rose one man, a farmer, a dreamer, a warrior, whose legend would shake the heavens themselves. His name was Ragnar Lothbrok, and his story would change the fate of the North forever. Welcome to INFOWORLD, where we uncover the untold stories behind history's greatest sagas. Today, we journey through the world of Vikings, the rise and fall of Ragnar, the vengeance of his sons, and the eternal echo of their legacy. Chapter I: The Dream of the Farmer. Ragnar Lothbrok was no king when his story began. He was a farmer, tilling the soil by day, raising his sons by night, and dreaming of worlds beyond the horizon. But his heart was restless. While others bowed to Earl Haraldson and obeyed old traditions, Ragnar questioned everything. He looked to the skies and saw the flight of ravens, the messengers of Odin, and in them he saw a sign. Ragnar believed the gods had chosen him, that his destiny lay not in the fields, but across the seas, in the unknown lands of the West. In a time when no Viking dared to sail beyond the familiar coasts, Ragnar defied them all. He sought out the mysterious shipbuilder Floki, a man touched by madness and genius alike. Together they built a new kind of ship, fast, sleek, and fearless, made to cut through both wave and storm. And with it, Ragnar began his journey. Not just to conquer lands, but to challenge fate itself. Chapter II: The First Raid. It was dawn when Ragnar and his men set sail into the mist. Every breath was heavy with fear, not of death, but of the unknown. The sea raged, the wind screamed, and yet Ragnar stood tall, eyes burning with faith. When the fog cleared, they saw it the shores of England. A land rich with green fields, gold crosses, and soft, unsuspecting monks. The first raid on Lindisfarne was not just a victory of blood, it was the birth of legend. For the first time, the Northmen had conquered the West. They plundered monasteries, seized treasure, and brought home proof that the stories of rich lands beyond the sea were real. When Ragnar returned, the people hailed him, some with awe, others with envy. And from that moment, his name spread like wildfire across Scandinavia. But glory has a price, and power once gained breeds enemies. Chapter III: The Rise of a King. Earl Haraldson could not tolerate Ragnar's fame. He saw in him not a hero, but a threat. So began the first great conflict of Ragnar's life, a battle not fought on foreign soil, but within his own homeland. Haraldson sent men to burn his home, to destroy his name, to break his will. But Ragnar was not a man who bowed. With the loyalty of his wife Lagertha, his brother Rollo, and the blessing of the gods, he faced the Earl in combat. The duel was swift, brutal, and unforgettable. Steel clashed, blood fell upon the sand, and Ragnar stood victorious. From farmer to warrior, from warrior to leader, Ragnar Lothbrok became the new Earl of Kattegat. Yet even as the people cheered, the gods watched in silence, for fate, they say, is never done testing those it favors. Chapter IV: The Legend Expands. As the years passed, Ragnar's hunger grew. He raided deeper into England, forged uneasy truces with kings, and dreamed of an empire that could unite all Norsemen under one banner. But as his power grew, so did his burdens. Rollo, his brother, began to drift away, consumed by jealousy, longing to step out of Ragnar's shadow. Lagertha, his fierce and proud shield maiden, walked her own path, leaving Ragnar heartbroken, yet never forgetting the love they once shared. In time, Ragnar took another wife, a slog, a woman whose beauty and wisdom were said to rival the gods. She bore him more sons, Ivar, Hvitserk, and Sigurd, each destined to shape the world in their own way. But destiny, as the seer would whisper, always demands sacrifice. Chapter V: The Betrayal of Blood. Ragnar's empire stretched across the seas, his name sung by skalds in every hall. Yet peace eluded him. Rollo betrayed him, aligning with the Franks to defend Paris. The brothers who once shared blood now faced each other across walls of fire and steel. The siege of Paris was Ragnar's greatest test, not of might but of faith. Wounded, sick, and fatting, he played one final trick, faking his death, entering the city in a coffin and rising again like a god reborn. But even victory could not heal the wound of betrayal. Ragnar's eyes, once filled with light, now carried the weight of destiny and loss. He had become more than a man, he was myth made flesh. And myths are never meant to live forever. Chapter VI: The Fall of Ragnar. Years passed. The once great king grew weary, haunted by failure, by the emptiness of endless conquest. His sons grew restless, divided, each following a different vision of glory. So Ragnar made his final journey. Alone, old, and broken, he returned to England to face the man he once spared, King Egbert. He knew he was walking toward death. But Ragnar Lothbrok did not fear it, he invited it. He sought to ignite the fury of his sons, to leave behind not just a name, but a reason for them to rise. When he was thrown into the pit of snakes by King Egil, Ragnar looked to the sky and laughed. The gods had not abandoned him, they awaited him. His last words echoed through time. How the little piggies will grunt when they hear how the old boar suffered. And with that, Ragnar Lothbrok met his fate. The man was gone. The legend had only just begun. Chapter VII: The Sons of Ragnar. News of Ragnar's death spread like fire through the north. And with it came vengeance carried by his sons. Bjorn Ironside, Ivar the Boneless, Hvitserk, and Sigurd. Each carried a piece of their father's soul, and each would carve his own legend in blood. Bjorn, the explorer, the one who sought lands beyond the reach of any Viking. He crossed the Mediterranean, faced deserts, kings, and monsters of the unknown world. Ivar, brilliant, cruel, and fearless, the cripple who became a god among men. He commanded armies, defied fate, and conquered kingdoms with a mind sharper than any sword. The seeker of peace, a man of his father's spirit who dreamed of a world not of war, but of legacy. Together, they avenged their father's death, leading the great heathen army across England, destroying all who stood in their path. But as always, the gods demanded balance. And one by one, the brothers turned against each other, divided by pride, love, and ambition. Chapter VII: The Legacy of the North. As years turned to decades, the golden age of Vikings began to fade. New faiths rose, new kings ruled, and the gods of the old world fell silent. But the spirit of Ragnar, the dream of sailing beyond the known, never died. His sons carried his name into every corner of the world. His story became legend. And legend became history. Ragnar Lothbrok was not merely a man who fought for glory. He was a man who believed in something greater. That the world was meant to be discovered, that destiny was meant to be challenged. And in that belief, he became eternal. Outro: The Echo of the Gods. Voice softens, reverent tone. Even now, when the wind howls across the frozen fjords, when the sea crashes against the cliffs of the north, you can almost hear his voice. The whisper of Ragnar Lothbrok, calling out to those who still dream. Do not be afraid of the storm, become it. Because legends never die. This was Vikings, the rise of Ragnar Lothbrok and the Sons of the North. You've been watching INFOWORLD, where we bring the past to life and uncover the tales that time could never silence. Until next time, scowl to the brave, and may your saga never end.